Welcome back to our channel Info World. Watch video till end to learn about how smart people handle narcissists. Once upon a time, in a bustling little town nestled between rolling green hills and sparkling rivers, lived a community of people renowned for their wit, wisdom, and charm. Among them were a group of particularly clever individuals who seemed to thrive in situations where others faltered. They were often called upon when someone needed advice, counsel, or help navigating difficult situations. One of the most challenging problems they frequently encountered, however, was dealing with narcissists. Narcissists were an ever-present reality in the town. Their charm could be captivating, but their self-centered nature often left others feeling drained, manipulated, or even hurt. Yet, the smart people in the town handled them with remarkable grace. How did they do it? What made them so adept at managing those tricky interactions? The secrets lay in their strategies, their patience, and their deep understanding of human nature. The first key to handling a narcissist, the wise people knew, was knowledge. Before anything else, they understood that narcissists weren't simply self-absorbed people. They had deep-seated insecurities that were hidden behind a facade of superiority and self-importance. This understanding gave them a certain empathy without letting themselves be taken advantage of. They knew that beneath the bravado, there was a person struggling with their own self-worth. One such clever individual was Eleanor, a schoolteacher known for her kindness and sharp mind. She often encountered a particularly demanding parent, Mr. Harris, who was notorious for his narcissistic tendencies. Mr. Harris would boast about his child's accomplishments and demand special treatment, all while belittling others. Eleanor never let his behavior affect her. She saw through his inflated ego and addressed him with a calm firmness that disarmed his bravado. Eleanor knew that arguing with Mr. Harris or trying to reason with him in a conventional way was futile. Instead, she mastered the art of strategic flattery. She would acknowledge his concerns without inflating his ego further, by focusing on the child's needs rather than his demands. "I see your daughter has been making great progress in math," she would say. "Your support at home must be really encouraging her." By shifting the focus and providing validation, she was able to steer the conversation into productive territory, all while maintaining her boundaries. Another clever member of the community, a young carpenter named Leo, had a knack for setting firm boundaries. He often dealt with a particularly difficult customer, Mrs. Whitman, who would praise him one moment and criticize him the next. Mrs. Whitman was never satisfied and constantly sought to manipulate Leo into offering her discounts or additional services. Leo understood the importance of setting clear limits from the start. When Mrs. Whitman would attempt to undermine his pricing or demand extra work, Leo remained unflappable. "I value the quality of my work, Mrs. Whitman," he would calmly reply. "I'd be happy to accommodate your requests, but that will require adjustments to the price." By staying calm and standing firm, Leo made it clear that he respected himself and his work too much to be swayed by her attempts at manipulation. Boundary setting wasn't just about saying no, it was about self-respect and consistency. Leo knew that if he gave in once, Mrs. Whitman would keep pushing. By maintaining his boundaries, he not only earned her reluctant respect but also taught her how to treat him, the art of detachment, staying emotionally unaffected. One of the most valuable skills the wise villagers had was emotional detachment. They knew that narcissists thrived on emotional reactions, be it admiration, fear, or anger. The more emotionally invested someone became, the more control the narcissist would exert. Therefore, the smart people practiced the art of detachment. Sophia, a renowned herbalist in the town, had a brother who would seek attention at family gatherings, interrupting conversations to make everything about himself. He'd either brag about his latest business ventures or criticize others for their lack of ambition. At first, Sophia found herself emotionally drained after every interaction. But over time, she learned a crucial lesson. To handle Edward, she needed to remain emotionally detached. Instead of getting upset when Edward dominated conversations or criticized her life choices, Sophia developed a calm and neutral demeanor. She would listen attentively but never react emotionally. If Edward boasted about his latest achievements, Sophia would respond with a simple, "That's interesting, Edward," without feeding his ego. If he criticized her, she would say, "That's your opinion," and move on. By not giving him the emotional fuel he sought, Sophia took away his power over her. Sophia's detachment allowed her to stay grounded, maintaining her own peace while also subtly teaching Edward that his attempts to provoke her would not succeed. The power of redirecting conversations. Redirection was another strategy the wise townsfolk used to handle narcissists effectively. Narcissists love to dominate conversations, often steering them back to themselves. The clever villagers knew how to gently steer the conversation in other directions, preventing the narcissist from monopolizing attention. One example was Daniel, a local shopkeeper with an impeccable ability to redirect. He frequently encountered a customer, Mr. Clark, who was known for his grandiose stories about his travels and achievements. Mr. Clark loved to make every conversation about his exploits, which could easily derail interactions in the shop. Daniel, however, had mastered the art of redirection. When Mr. Clark began his usual monologues, Daniel would listen politely for a moment and then skillfully pivot the conversation. "That reminds me, Mr. Clark, we just got a new shipment of rare spices from India. You might find them interesting, given your travels." Suddenly, Mr. Clark would be distracted by the spices and the conversation would shift away from his stories. By redirecting conversations, Daniel maintained a sense of control and kept interactions pleasant, while gently steering the focus back to something neutral, not taking the bait, ignoring provocations. Narcissists often seek to provoke reactions, whether through subtle insults or outright confrontations. The wise people of the town had learned never to take the bait. They understood that engaging in arguments or defending themselves against baseless accusations only fueled the narcissist's need for control and attention. Clara, the town's librarian, dealt with a particularly difficult colleague named Vivian. Vivian constantly tried to undermine Clara's work, making passive-aggressive comments about how some people didn't work hard enough or weren't as knowledgeable. Clara knew that Vivian was trying to provoke her, to elicit a reaction and draw her into a conflict. Instead of responding defensively, Clara simply ignored the provocations. If Vivian made a snide remark, Clara would either stay silent or respond with a nonchalant, "Thanks for your input." By refusing to engage, Clara denied Vivian the satisfaction of a reaction. Over time, Vivian's attempts at provocation decreased as she realized Clara wouldn't be drawn into her games, leveraging the narcissist's need for validation. Perhaps one of the cleverest strategies employed by the wise villagers was leveraging the narcissist's need for validation to achieve positive outcomes. They understood that narcissists craved admiration and recognition, so they used this to their advantage. Henry, a talented blacksmith, often dealt with a wealthy patron, Lord Carmichael, who was notorious for his narcissism. Lord Carmichael would make grand demands, often insisting on special treatment and complaining if he felt he wasn't being given the respect he deserved. Henry, however, knew how to handle him. Instead of resisting Lord Carmichael's need for validation, Henry subtly used it to his advantage. When Lord Carmichael requested a custom sword, Henry would say, "Only a man of your stature could appreciate the craftsmanship of such a unique piece. I'll ensure it's a masterpiece worthy of your name." By appealing to Lord Carmichael's ego, Henry not only kept him satisfied but also ensured timely payments and repeat business. Henry's strategy was not about pandering but about finding a way to meet his own goals while managing the narcissist's need for validation. Knowing when to walk away, while the wise villagers were skilled at managing narcissists, they also knew when to walk away. Not every situation could be salvaged, and not every narcissist could be reasoned with. Sometimes, the healthiest choice was to distance oneself entirely. Amelia, a talented artist, learned this lesson with her former friend, Sarah. Sarah was charming but deeply narcissistic. At first, Amelia tried all the strategies she knew: detachment, boundary setting, redirection, but Sarah's constant need for control and validation began to take a toll on Amelia's mental health. Amelia realized that despite her best efforts, the relationship was draining and toxic. One day, after yet another exhausting encounter, Amelia made the decision to step back. She gently but firmly told Sarah, "I think we are on different paths right now, and I need some space." It wasn't easy, but it was necessary for Amelia's well-being. Walking away wasn't a failure. It was an acknowledgement that some relationships, particularly with deeply entrenched narcissists, could be more harmful than beneficial. The wise people of the town understood that protecting their own peace and mental health was paramount. And so, the clever villagers continued to thrive in their small town, adeptly handling the narcissists in their midst. Through empathy, detachment, boundary setting, redirection, and sometimes walking away, they managed to maintain their peace and protect their emotional well-being. Their strategies weren't about defeating or changing the narcissist, something they knew was impossible. Instead, they focused on controlling their own responses, maintaining their own dignity, and living with grace. By doing so, they created a harmonious life even in the presence of challenging personalities. The lessons of the wise villagers serve as a timeless reminder: while we can't always change others, we can always choose how we respond. And in that choice lies true wisdom and strength. If you liked this video, hit the like button. Please subscribe to our channel and share this video with friends and family members. Also watch other interesting videos from our channel.